of our track records. Then I'll talk to you about the ambition and the governance of Circle of Flanders. Then I'll go into the way we work together in our partnerships, so how we try to act and learn from it in the framework of our Green Deals. With the example of the Green Deal circular construction, then we'll talk about just transition. Jobs and skills are very important in that area. And then just some information about our research center and the CE monitor. And then finally, I'll talk about the secret ingredient of Circle of Flanders. First of all, let me just tell you that when we're talking about Flanders, it's the Dutch-speaking northern parts of Belgium. So we're with 6.2 million inhabitants, and we have some economic strengths. Logistics, we're a bit in the center of Europe, but it's not really the center, of course. But we have some ports, and it's quite strong in logistics. Chemical industry, food industry is well known. We also have a big pharma cluster. We worked a lot on the vaccines recently, so that's a bit our economic part. Then what about waste? Well, for Flanders, we have a dense population in a very small area, so we don't have any space for waste. So we have a long track record on waste implementation, and we started with in 1986 with the planning of landfill sites, incineration plants, but we moved on, and by 2012 we hardly have any landfill sites left. We try to reduce the incineration plants, and we move on. We look for a lot of strategies to prevent waste. And nowadays we're working with the materials program, and we moved on to Circle of Flanders. Our purpose today is to move from the linear economy and the recycling economy towards the circular economy. In the recycling economy, we try to recycle, but that means that we reduce mainly the purpose of our materials. What we try to do now is to implement different strategies in order to keep our materials in the economy as long as possible. So that's our circular economy. When we talk about the why do we do it? In the first years of Circle of Flanders, we started in 2017, we showed this picture. And we said, yes, we have a problem because by 2050, 2060, we might have a problem with oil or gas or with the rare metals. Nowadays, I just showed the newspapers, unfortunately. The transition goes faster and we lose our materials faster because we don't have access to all these materials the whole time. Our logistic chains are not working as they used to due to COVID and due to war, but also because more and more people want to consume more and want to produce more, and unfortunately they also produce a lot more waste. Sometimes I also show this. There is a major environmental problem. And this. I hope that everybody knows that the way we treat our materials has an effect on 55 to 65% of our greenhouse gas emissions. So what we do with our materials is really major in our battle against climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. That is also very well understood by Europe. You all know that, so I'm not going to go into the European Green Deal because that's well known, I guess. What we do in Flanders as a forerunner in the circular economy, we try to decouple our material footprint from the consumption by 2030. And our goal is to have a reduction of the material footprint by 30% towards 2030. And we try to do that in a full public-private partnership. So it's not an effort from government, it's really a full partnership with private partners. So let me talk about this governance. The governance of Circular Flanders, there we work together under the supervision of our two ministers. We have a Minister of Economics, Innovation, Labour, Social Economy and Agriculture, working together with the Minister of Environment and Energy. With those two ministers, we have all the teams that we wanted to work on in Circular Flanders, so that's a good thing. And we work in the pentahelix. So in whatever we do, when we work on our agendas or we work on specific levers, we always try to work in core partnerships in this pentahelix. I'll just show you a picture of our steering committee, and our steering committee also contains representatives of government, industry and the businesses, local governments and social profits, the knowledge centers, research, very important, and the financial sector. So what we try to do there, maybe you can switch off your mobiles, it's easier to talk. So what we try to do there is to work together on the Flemish parts in this pentahelix. But of course, we always have this link towards what is going on the federal government and with the other regions in Belgium. And we work together there in federal collaboration with our Belgian colleagues in an intra-Belgian platform circular economy. And also there we prepare our work towards Europe, because Europe is of course a very important player, especially when we talk about change in policy on the circular economy. Eco-design, product innovations, we need Europe. So that's our steering committee. This partnership of 20 organizations in total will look at the long-term vision. We prepared a long-term vision towards 2050. What we didn't do is prepare long-term goals. We just made long-term ambitions. We show some pictures on how is Flanders going to look like in 2050. What are we going to eat? How are we going to work? How are we going to move ourselves and mobility? So we took those pictures as our ambitions, and it's just to inspire everybody that things should look very different in 2050. But in order to get there, this team will look into it the following years if we go into the correct direction. But we're going to work together with a lot of other partners in 6 strategic agendas on circular construction, on chemistry and plastics, the water loops, bioeconomy, the food chain, and manufacturing. Manufacturing is a broad area. There we're going to start mainly first on textiles and electro batteries, infrastructure that contains electro. But what we do besides these groups that are going to work in public-private partnerships on these different agendas, what we try to do there is to act, start projects, see if it works. What doesn't work, we stop it. But also when it works, sometimes you have some problems. And we try to work on these problems. If you have legal issues, or if you have issues on wrong circular procurement, or if you need other jobs and skills to fill in these jobs, we try to work on these 7 levers in order to make sure that some expert groups can help you in the work agenda in order to take the next step. Because we're very good in telling each other this thing doesn't work, but we try to do what we try to do here with the expert groups, these 7 expert groups on the levers, is okay, we know what doesn't work, but how are we going to make sure that it works in the future? So there, these experts have the job to change things. Later on, I will go into 2 of these topics, and that is research and the jobs and skills. First, an example on how we worked and how we're going to work in these different strategic agendas. Main point is act and learn from it and try to scale up what is working, give good examples. In this way, we had some greatest hits so far. We tried to reach out to a lot of people. With our Green Deal circular procurement, we had the opportunity to work together with the buyers. If the demand doesn't change, the economy will not change. So we work together with the demand. Then we work together up to now also with a large group, circular construction. I'll talk to you about it a bit later on. Then we had a lot of actors and projects that we supported. And that was great because we learned a lot of these small projects everywhere. They also had two aspects. First, they had to do the experiment, but secondly, they had to share the information. What did you learn from these experiments? You had to share it towards other people in the same sector or in other sectors in order for them to learn. So in that way, we act and we do and we learn and we move faster together. We had some boot camps and eco-design challenges towards our young people. And then we also have all kinds of general public outreach. So we do different kinds of conferences, workshops, and then of course we receive a lot of questions. So we have a service point where companies, but also people from NGOs or whatever can contact us and can ask us for more information. You see the 110 consultations and 94 lectures. That's each year. So it's very intensive. We still need to create a lot of awareness everywhere. So it's very important to have these lectures. Now, first of all, the Flemish Green Deal on circular construction. If you look at it, it's a group of 350 participants. So it's a major group where we work together. All people working in the construction sector. And what we try to do is connect people from different angles in the value chain. And that is very important to close the loop there. And we try to do that, again, with a lot of experiments, but we connect them with researchers. There's a very important research group working on these different topics. We bring them together in 4 or 5 workshops each year. We try to inspire them, but we also have these workshops in the afternoon where they really work together on the different levers, and they try to learn from each other in order to see how can we make sure that what we try to do here goes to market implementation and goes to policy implementation. So learning and sharing is very important there, but it goes further. We look into these different projects, and there where you have very difficult legal aspects, for instance, we try to subsidize projects that go into these legal aspects to make sure that if you have a legal issue, you try to you try to find solutions, but you also try to implement it in practice. And then you learn from this experiment again and bring it back to the lawyers in order to change policy. So that's what we try to do there. You can find a lot of examples on our website, but what I wanted to talk to you about is just transition. Because what we find out nowadays is that we have a major issue. If you look at the energy transition, you see the prices rising up, and it's going to be a major problem, especially for the more vulnerable people in our society. It's going to be the same for the materials transition, because behind this energy transition, there's a big problem in the material flows. You just think about solar panels. If you think about isolation for the housing, you know that these things are major material flow problems and not only just an energy problem. What we also saw is that it's very nice to talk about the great opportunities that the circular economy offers for companies and for the labor markets. We've noticed through research also that in the circular economy you have more and more jobs also for lower skilled people. Lower skilled people, but you cannot just say that there are a lot of jobs for lower skilled people unless you train them, of course. Training that doesn't have to be a civil engineer training, but low training, very practical, but it can change the world. I hear an echo.
Did you change anything, Brigitte, on your side?
Okay, I'll try again.
Yes, now
okay. Now it's okay. Okay. What we do now is we started with 12 circular hubs where we work together with normal companies and social social economy companies. And social economy companies are those companies who work together with people who have barriers towards the normal labor markets due to language background, lack of education, whatever. So we take them in these circular hubs and we work together with them on a slower pace with more supports in order to make sure that they can learn and that they can take and prepare their part into the circular economy. And it's amazing what is happening there. They work on repair, they work on demolition sites, they work on sorting waste in order to bring this recycled and sorted waste back to the chemical sector in order to make new plastics from it. So there are a lot of jobs that they can do now that they couldn't do before, and they are super useful in the circular economy, and they do it with a lot of passion. So I'm very glad that we can do these experiments together with these social entrepreneurs and the normal economy working together there. What we also do is for everybody, not just the social economy. We have a circular ambassadors program. What we try to do there is train trainers who work together with others in order to prepare them in jobs and skills for the circular economy. We started with our first session, train the trainers in Flanders, with Flemish institutions. Those people can be people working in vocational training. Those can be teachers, whatever. So we take 50 people and we train them in order to be able to train others in their jobs and skills in the circular economy. We're going to do the same sessions on the Belgian level with the other regions in Belgium in 2023. But then in 2024, we're going to do the same thing on the European level. What is our purpose there? What we learn from these experiments on training the trainers, we would like to share that by 2024 with others in Europe. It's a European project also sponsored by Smart Life. So it's very interesting to see what kind of people are coming now in the first session. And we hope to share a lot of our information on what we learn on changing jobs and skills towards a more circular economy. We try to share that by 2024 with all of you. Then another thing is that it is very important that what we do in practice with all these companies, with all these organizations, you need to make sure that you learn from it and that you move on. So what we have is a research center specialized in the circular economy in Flanders. And they have a lot of policy research on the website. What we do is we try to share as much information as possible, because our goal is that we need to do it all together. And if we want to change the economy, we have to change it in Flanders, in Belgium, and in Europe and internationally. So it's open. It's also, most of the papers are also in English. So I would like to invite you to go to the website of the Research Center, CE Center. I can tell you that now in the second phase of this CE Center, because these are mainly reports of the previous years, but now the following years, there is going to be a major cluster on law on legal aspects, done by the KU Leuven and the University of Hasselt, who is also a partner of the SAPIENS network. We also have a CE monitor with more than 100 indicators, because we want to make sure that what we're trying to do on our materials, on water, on food waste and whatever, that we monitor that we have the correct impact. This monitor is also available in Dutch and in English. So if you want to learn more about it, you can go to that website. And then I just wanted to talk to you about our secret ingredient, because it's very important to make a movement if you want to change the economy. And the way we try to do it in Circle of Flanders and with the Circle of Flanders team is make sure that everybody is there and is willing to stay. Our secret ingredient is fun. In our events, in our action, we need to make sure that everybody wants to come, wants to learn, wants to act. I'm just going to close the PowerPoint so that we can see each other, and maybe I can answer some of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you very much, Brigitte. For me, it was a very interesting and inspiring presentation. I know Brigitte has some conservations if your presentation will fit to today's session, but I think it fits perfectly because you touched almost all aspects that we discussed yesterday, like, for example, the energy crisis and the role of the energy in the supply chains. We discussed yesterday how to build the supply chains for the circular economy, and the ESR has a workshop, but we didn't touch the social aspects, how to engage also the social aspects in the circular economy. So today you added this element. So thank you very much. And now the time for the questions. So do you have any questions? If not, maybe I will ask one, because what interests me is the demand side and the end user. And you said how important it is, and that you do a lot. You were talking about the workshops, about the meetings, but are there any other instruments, and how you gather the audience, how you get to the, for example, the wider amount of consumers or public buyers maybe? Could you tell a little bit more about the concrete instruments or how you do it?
Yes, what we try to do is go into practice within the Green Deal circular procurement, and within our European network ProCirc. We try to find the good examples, but it's also very important to find, for instance, the correct contracts. And we have an instrument that is telling us more information on the different possible strategies in the circular procurement and in circular economy. And with this framework, when you use that framework, that instrument, you can look at your own products and your own demand as a buyer. And you can look at it and see what kind of circular strategy could be possible for us. And it's very difficult to find one instrument for all kinds of purchases, but with that instrument, we show the different strategies. And when you go into this framework, It's on our website, so it's very simple. It's one framework on our website within our tools and instruments, and you go into that one, and then, for instance, you can find some information on how others did it. For instance, if you talk about product service combinations, you can go to the box of product service combinations, you go into that, and you can find examples on how the demand was presented on paper in a contract. So you can really work with these examples prepared by others. A lot of these examples are contractual relations that were presented. So it's very hands-on sometimes in what we offer.
Thank you very much. We have also two questions from the not online participant, but I think you can ask your questions by yourself, and we will.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. You mentioned a few times the PPP, which is also a very interesting topic, I think, not only for Poland, but also for many other countries in Europe. So my first question is connected with what are the reasons for the planned use of PPP? What are the benefits that you recognize and are connected with PPP? And also my second question is connected with the experience of the usage of PPP in Flanders, because in many countries we are struggling with the use of PPP. This is the case of Poland, in which we have only 152 agreements for the plant, more than 1,000. So so there are the questions connected with the use of PPP, and what is the interest of the private market concerning the cooperation for the long-term agreement? Thank you very much.
Yes, good question. What we learned from the energy transition, that it was mainly governments changing rules and the norms. They said you need to go more strict, you need to go more strict, you need to go more strict, you need to go more strict. And there was a lot of resentment from the private companies who were saying, like, this is not the way to deal with us. And what we're trying to do in this transition towards a circular economy is not making the same mistakes as what we first did in our energy transition. So what we try to do is work together with the private companies and the NGOs, because all of us together, we know more than what we know from the background of the policy makers. And we can make sure that the ambitions are shared. And why do these federations, because it's mainly federations who come at the table, because of course they also want to influence what we are doing. But what we said to our steering committee, for instance, you're welcome as a federation to join, but we make it very clear that we come here not to represent our sector and to make sure that it doesn't go too fast. We come here to make sure that it goes very fast and that we are ready, and that it's very necessary for our economy to move fast. If you have that attitude, you're welcome. If you don't have that attitude, please leave the table. And it was a very clear commitment from the beginning on that it's common goal, transition towards a circular economy, and it's not the goal like hoo-hoo. We just make sure that it's not too innovative. Our president is a CEO of a bigger company, so he's not linked to government, and that helps a lot, because with his presence there, It's the president of Indaver. And with his presence there, he has the authority to tell the other, like, okay, this is really working together on the common goal. And now at this point, when you're talking, you're representing your sector and you slow us down. So that's not the purpose. We also changed our governance the last 2 years, and we invited the financial sector as well, because the other economic partners and societal partners said, we have a problem because we try to change our ways, but then we go to the banks or to the funding specialists, and they are not listening. They have this model in linear economy, and so they want to subsidize us when it's very clear that we make products and that we sell them. That's good for them. But if we try to introduce these new business models like product service models, they're not following. So what we did is we invited representatives of that sector, and by doing that, they also learn what they should do in their ways to change the economy from the part of the financial sector. And the NGOs are there to make this link with society. What is important for the consumers, for instance, a consumer who doesn't want to go into this sharing economy. That's very nice if you want to present the sharing economy as an entrepreneur, but if nobody wants to share your things, it's a waste of time. And by bringing them together, they realize that you can really close this value chain. You need to work together throughout the whole value chain. That is the essence of this collaboration. And it's working very well. And they're still at the table, all of them. So I'm very happy to do it in this way. What is very important here is also, we started with the smaller group, the hundreds of companies. What we do with these strategic agendas now is to move up to the bigger group of, it's not the first movers, but the second movers group. We try to convince them, so we give more responsibility to these sector federations to share this, to take the responsibility of one of these topics. So for instance, for the circular construction, we work together with the Federation of the Constructors, and we share that responsibility to make sure that more companies have the skills, have the instruments, have the knowledge to change towards circular construction. So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer. And one more question. We are just running out of the coffee break, but we'll move a little bit the case study, so don't worry. Can you see, Brigitte, the question? Or shall I read it? Mongolia is currently revising the public procurement law, and we are seeking to give certain percentage of preference to the bids which offer to collect the waste of the supplied goods for the purpose of recycling. Is there any similar experience or legislation in other countries that we can learn from?
To the bids which offer to collect the waste. Yes, of course, we come from very far. We also started with the landfill, but what we're trying to do is accelerate the recycling. And in that way, in that perspective, we try to change legislation. We do it with taxation on waste. So we work with taxation on waste. So if you have a lot of waste going to the incinerators, every ton of waste going to the incinerator has a higher taxation. So if you can move it to other solutions, to higher quality recycling, then the taxation goes down. So we try to work there with taxation, but we have to work together with our federal colleagues for the product eco-design and product norms. So there they can help us with rules and regulation on using recycled content in new products, for instance. But that is still not going very well at the moment. But we're working in this intra-Belgian platform to move faster there, because it's very nice that our chemical sector is really working on this recycled content, but we need to make sure that in the manufacturing industry, we give a little push on, and this push is going to be a bit legal, I suppose, to make sure that they're going to use the recycled content and that you need to have a specific percentage of recycled content. But also there, we hope that Europe is going to give a major push. It helped with the plastics, so I hope they're going to do the same the following years for several products.
Top question.
Okay, one short, because we are really.
Congratulations for Flanders for the achievement in circular economy. How it's going in other part of Belgium, Valence and other.
In Wallonia and Brussels?
Yeah.
Well, we try to learn a lot from each other, like, for instance, in the circular procurement, what we did first in Flanders, we shared that information with Wallonia, for instance, and now they also have this Green Deal on circular procurement. Brussels is doing very well on sustainable economy at the moment, and it's a full program also there. What they did is they use the model of the donut economy. I hope you're well aware of the donut economy, Kate Raworth. Where they look into the different angles of sustainable economy, and they have a full program there to elaborate this donut economy, sustainable economy in Brussels.
Okay, thank you. I think we could have the whole session of questions to Brigitte, so maybe we will invite her to the next PSR that we could talk more. But now, sorry for everyone, but we have to finish this question session because we are completely out of time. So thank you, Brigitte, so much. And
You're welcome. Bye.